Welcome to Conservation Nation. I'm your host, Gabriella Hoffman. In this series, we travel the country to highlight conservation in action. We're continuing our Alaska coverage on sustainable resource development and how access into the Tongass National Forest fits into the balanced use model here. In wake of the Biden administration's decision to reinstate the 2001 roadless rule here, locals are greatly concerned about the policy's effects throughout the region. Join me as we dig deeper into the situation here in the last frontier. We're returning to southeastern Alaska to explore the capital city of Juno. Juno was the first city established following the U.S. purchase of Alaska from Russia. Today, it's a popular tourist destination and cruise stop in Alaska's Inside Passage. It's also a gateway to the Tongass National Forest. A popular activity here is taking a 1,800-foot ascent up Mount Roberts on the Gold Belt tram. You can see totems here. It's beautiful to be in this lush rainforest. It feels like fall time, even winter, and it's really a magnificent place and great to get your exercise in. The Tongass National Forest is a vast 17 million acre rainforest marked by lush cedar, Sitka spruce, waterfalls, flora, and fauna. On January 27, 2023, the Biden administration announced it's restricting activities like mining, hydropower, geothermal, and road construction in the Tongass National Forest, revoking a 2020 rule that would have granted an exemption. The U.S. Department of Agriculture claims 9.73 million acres of roadless areas will be permanently protected to, quote, support the ecological, economic, and cultural values of southeastern Alaska, end quote. But locals disagree with the decision, arguing it'll have negative economic effects and undermine natural resources management. I spoke to Jim Clark, a Juneau-based attorney and former chief of staff to Governor Murkowski, Alaska policy analyst Sarah Montalbano, and Rick Whitback, Alaska State Director for Power of the Future, about the implications of this policy.
There's about 70,000 people in the southeast living in the Tongass National Forest. Currently, it can only really sustain one major-ish struggling sawmill. The rest are all really artisan mills doing really artisan things. And so what we could see with this is if we loosened up the roadless rules effects, we might actually be able to get some of these younger growth trees into the hands of sawmills and actually support more of an economy.
When the exemption came in 2020, it required the Forest Service to change the forest plan. But there was not time to do that between September 2020 and January 21 when the Biden administration came in, so the forest plan was never changed, and it still prohibits logging. So if we are successful in our lawsuit, it will not change the forest plan. It will only change the roadless rule. And the roadless rule otherwise provides barriers on mining and also hydroelectric facilities. Forest Service has looked the area over, and there are like 140 sites suitable for hydroelectric power. We could export hydroelectric power through British Columbia to the lower 48. If we could develop those resources.
The federal government, since we became a state back in 1959, has always said, we want you to be on your own and be independent, be like the rest of the other 49 states. But at the same time, we want to protect you from yourselves because you're so beautiful and you have this grandeur and you have this amazing landscape, but we don't really trust that you know how to take care of it. So let us help you. So the Biden administration, again, is way more concerned with, not establishing any footprints for development, killing off opportunities in Alaska, killing off opportunities for Alaskans to reap the benefits of our natural resources. Granted, whether it's national forest, it still sustains jobs. And we need them up here because the rest of the state has shown to be good, responsible stewards of the environment. Again, it's not a binary choice.
Article 8, Section 4 of the Alaska State Constitution states, fish, forests, wildlife, grasslands, and all other replenishable resources belonging to the state shall be utilized, developed, and maintained on the sustained yield principle. Despite this, the Biden administration has taken 56 actions against the state of Alaska, including here in the Tongass National Forest, to the detriment of the last frontier. Alaska's self-determination, particularly to sustainably manage its resources, could be at risk.
The broader scope of these projects is this is part of an ongoing kind of hostile attitude that I think East Coast and federal bureaucrats take towards Alaska and its natural resources. It's obviously not something that is only for Alaska. I think all the western states get it to some extent, but Alaska is being stopped at every turn, from developing oil and gas, from doing mining. So it's really hamstrings Alaska's economic prosperity, as well as the livelihoods of the people who live here. We can't survive only on tourism alone, and I think that's something that is too ignored by the rest of the states.
What we really resent is the USDA coming in on top of all the negotiating we did with Congress. In 1980, it took 4 years to put the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act together. In 1990, Congress said they wanted to take back some of the deals that we had made, and they added more area on top of it. So it's really an insult to then come in and add 9.4 million acres of roadless on top of what they had already done to the Tongass in terms of our ability to manage the resources in the area we live.
You know, the slippery slope is if you put it off limits to one type of development, one type of use, one type of public, access, what's next? And we've seen it all over the state, not only, with the Tongass certainly, and the exemption of the roadless rule, but, mining and oil and gas and road development and railroad spurs and things like that. It's one small step for, we'll call it the eco-warrior, one giant thrust into the hearts of Alaskans to be able to live, work, and play here in the state.
I couldn't conclude my time in the last frontier without paying a visit to Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau. This glacier flows from a 1,500 square mile expanse of rock, snow, and ice known as the Juno ice field. Not only is the glacier a draw, wildlife also lure in the crowds too, especially during the salmon run. We're here to see if this place lives up to the hype. We traversed another view of the Mendenhall Glacier. It's more unobstructed. There are fewer people here in this part of the Tongass National Forest. And if you see it behind me, you can see how impressive it is with the haze and the overcast. Really invigorating place to be, and it's really cool to see a glacier up close. From responsibly developing critical minerals to maintaining access to the Tongass National Forest, Alaskans should be trusted to steward their resources. Will the Biden administration ease up its attacks on the Alaska model and thoughtfully listen to locals? We will keep you updated. I appreciate you tagging along on our Alaska journey. If you enjoyed these episodes, share them far and wide. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next Conservation Nation report.